Continuing our reading in the World and Thorinn by Damon Knight. Today's chapter 13, section 4. Thornton went back the way he had come. Clinging to a pole, he stared at the box in the net across the room. Box, when they finish asking me questions, how will they take me to the other place? They will put you in a skin again and keep you until the other place is ready. Then they will put you in an engine that travels through the water. Another engine will take you from the top of the water to the other place. How long will it take to get to the other place ready? It will take 50 summers. Why not kill me and be done with it? An engine can't kill a man. So you said before, Box. Have you ever lied to me? No, Thornton. Even when you told me the engines in that cavern wouldn't harm me? They did not harm you. They broke the bladder and kept me from going up the shaft. The box said, Thornton, I must ask you a question. Is it harmful for you to be hindered in your coming and going? Yes. You can come and go from one room to another in this place. What's the use of that? In the room above this one, you can run around the wall. This was so absurd that Thornton did not answer. But after a moment, curiosity got the better of him, and he floated up through the hole to look at the empty room. He touched the wall with his hand. It was soft and yielding. Cautiously, he pulled himself up, set one foot against the wall, pressed. The spongy material gave him unexpected purchase. He kicked out. Soared. The curved wall came up to meet him. He was off again, but caught himself with his hands, kicked again. In a few moments, he had the feel of it, and he discovered that the faster he moved, the more weight he had, and the easier it was to run. The exercise was grateful to his muscles, but he tired quickly. When the hole in the floor came by again, he caught it, pulled himself through. Sweating and hot, he went to the water tube in the wall and drank. Then he tried the food tube, but a warm, sweetish paste came into his mouth and he spat it out. Don't you like the food? Asked the voice from the wall abruptly. No, it tastes like spoiled porridge. You will be given other food. What is porridge? It's something to eat. You boil grain until it's soft and then you eat it. What is grain? It's food. It grows in the ground. Exasperated, Thornton cried, What difference does it make anyhow? Why are you asking these questions? This engine was told by Monitor to ask questions. The Monitor? Who is he? The Monitor is the king of the world. When you were in the dark cave with the lake, who else was there? No one. I was there by myself. Where did you go from that cave? If I answer, Thornton said, what will you give me in return? This engine will answer your questions. That's not enough. I want my freedom. What is your freedom? The right to go wherever I please and do what I like. This engine can't give you your freedom. Where did you go from the dark cave? Tell the Monitor to come here then. If he wants to ask questions, let him ask them himself. The Monitor will not come. If you do not answer now, no more water or food will be given until you answer. Thornton kept a stubborn silence. After a moment, he went to the wall and tried the drinking tube. It was dry. He did not bother to test the food tube, but opened one of his bundles and unwrapped it until he found the magic jug. The transparent stuff he had covered it with was gone, and the fabric around it was sopping wet. Peering into the jug, he saw only a few bright half globes of water clinging to the sides. As he half expected, the jewels were gone. He set the jug adrift in the room and watched it a while, then recaptured it and looked inside. The globes of water had joined into a larger ball clinging to one side. It broke loose when he moved the jug, wavered, and changed shape. then clung to the wall again. How was he to get it out? He jerked the jug suddenly away from him. The ball of water spun out, surging into improbable shapes and hung in mid-air, gradually settling into a perfect globe. But when he put his lips to it, it ran all over his face and chest. Some smaller globes were left drifting slowly in all directions. Thornton pursued these and succeeded in capturing some in his mouth, where they instantly became like ordinary water again, and he was able to swallow them. But there must be a better way. He tore off the pieces of the fabric of one of his bundles and wadded it into the mouth of the jug, then went on another restless circuit. As an afterthought, he tried the water tubes in the other sleeping rooms, but they were dry too. When he returned to his own room, he saw by the darkness of the cloth in the jug that it was wet, and he sucked a little water out of it. Later it became still wetter, and he saw that he could get all the moisture he needed that way. "A box," he said presently. "How is it that the engine can speak, but it doesn't know what porridge is?" "I taught the engine to speak, but I could not tell it what porridge is because you had never told me." Irritatedly, Thornton sprang from one pool to another, then back again. "You talked to it while I was asleep? What else did you tell it?" "I told it all that I know." "Why? In Soren's name?" "Because it asked." "Even though I told you not to do anything that would harm me?" "If I had not taught the engine to speak, it could not have talked to you, and that would have harmed you." Thornton was silent a moment. He saw that the box was right, but that only made him angrier. "Box, from now on, if you can do something that will help me escape, you must do it." "Yes, Thornton." But what could the box or anyone else do? It seemed to him that without weapons, locked in this cage, he had only one hope, and that was to bargain. If they wanted his information enough, they would release him. If not, not. "A box," he said. "Who is the monitor?" "The monitor is an engine." "You mean the world is ruled by an engine? How did that come about?" "I don't know, Thornton." "Then how do you know the king is an engine?" "The engine that spoke to me, to you, is not used to speaking to men. It calls itself this engine, not I. If the monitor were a man, the engine would be used to speaking to men. Therefore, the monitor is an engine." But if it was not like that when you were made?" "No." "Who was the king then?" "There were many kings chosen by the people, and the monitor was their servant." "I don't think an engine should be king," Thornton said. "Thornton, I must ask you a question. Would it be better if a man were king, even if he harmed the people more than an engine would?" Thornton scowled. "Nah, I suppose not, but..." He paused for thought. "How old is the monitor, Box?" "It is 35 hundreds of thousands of days and 60 thousands of days old." Thornton whistled in amazement. Well then, it would be better to have kings who were men, because at least a bad king would die, and then you might get a better one." Thornton ate some cheese and sucked water from the jug. Restlessly, he explored the other rooms again, but there was little of interest there. He found no cupboards or presses anywhere, nothing but the empty rooms. He ran again in the running room, then went back to his starting point. For lack of any other occupation, he opened his wallet and removed its contents one by one. Fire stick, light box, pebbles, a bit of crystal, a scrap of cloth woven with bright figures. He replaced each object carefully after he was done with it. Then, for a while, he shook globes of water out of the magic jug and watched them drift slowly about the room. By passing his hand between two of them, he found that he could make them collide and merge into a larger ball. Whenever a floating globe touched one of the poles or handles, it rebounded and went on. But when a globe touched the wall, floor, or ceiling, it clung and then disappeared, leaving a dark spot that slowly faded. It was hard to credit what the box had told him about the world, yet it must be so, for in this place where there was no weight at all, water formed perfect globes. Above, in the wingman's cave, where there was little weight, the waves in the river were taller than his head. And so upward to the midworld, where things behaved normally and had their proper weight. All this had a logic and symmetry which he could grasp and which in a curious way pleased him. Now that he knew what he had to do with an engine, his problem was clearer. Engines knew a great deal, but they were bound by many gees. If it was true that an engine could not kill a man, then it had been idle for the engine to threaten him with thirst and starvation. But how badly did they want his answers? What did they want them for? If he had misjudged, he might go to sleep tonight and wake up 50 summers later in that sealed cavern they were making for him. Eventually, weariness overcame him, and he slept between one thought and another, floating where he was without trying to reach the sleeping pole. That's the end of this section, the end of chapter 13.